All right, welcome everyone to this Tech Exchange Virtual Agents Day. I'm so happy to be your host today. My name is Armand Ruiz. I'm Vice President of Product Management for AI Platform at IBM. I'm responsible for providing a lot of the Gen AI capabilities that we bring to market to our customers. And today we're going to be talking about the topic of the year, which is AI agents. We have a very exciting day ahead with a lot of experts, and they are going to share with you a lot of great information and technical tips to get you started. So I like to talk, when I talk about AI agents, I like to call it the opportunity of our lifetime. AI overall and AI agents more specifically. Agents is, in my mind, really delivering on the promise of AI, which is not just making some smart predictions or spitting out some smart text, but really fully automating workflows automatically, and then having the ability to to interact with humans like virtual co-workers. So the opportunity is huge. The opportunity is can be measured in many different ways. In terms of like dollar value, there are estimates that this is gonna be a 4 trillion plus global profits opportunity annually for all of us. So I encourage you to jump into this, whether it's building your own vertical agents, use case agents, getting used to the technology, or leverage agents in your workflows. That said, we have a lot of challenges to get there. Uh, one of I will summarize it into like the first one is infrastructure. We need a lot of compute. We need to do a lot of things right in order to execute um, all these AI in production at scale, and we will see a lot of increased training costs on models and inference. So there is a lot of innovation going on in this space, and then also algorithm innovation that is happening as well to make those agents are powered by very powerful models, and those models they need to get smarter, they need to reason very well, and they need to be able to break down very complex stacks into smaller steps and be able to execute securely. So there is a lot of challenges, but I'm super confident because we're seeing a pace of innovation that is unprecedented, and we have the smartest people in the world right now dedicated to it. And the third part is innovation. I think it's going to be a lot of change management for specifically for enterprises. We will need to rethink every single business process and the way we work and the way we offer products and the way our customers interact with us. Everything is going to change, and that can happen faster or slower. But many businesses will be disrupted if they don't embrace this technology. We are seeing and predicting that 1 out of 3 Gen AI interactions will be actually agentic. By 2028, I actually think from these stats that this might happen even faster than that. So there is a lot going on. And what we're planning for all of you today here is to give you like a set of tips and best practices and market insights from more than 30 experts from IBM and from some of our best partners that we have, so you learn how to get started. We are in this tipping point right now. Everyone has been experimenting with Gen AI and doing pilots and doing RAG and fine-tuning models, but what we're seeing right now is that we're going to expand the use cases and think on and really agentic use cases that will automate and will tackle things like IT automation, code development, and AI assistance. So with that, in this session that I have this morning to kick off this Tech Exchange event, I have a surprise guest I'm super excited about. I'm going to talk to you about the next wave of AI productivity for a few minutes and then give you a quick intro on what's coming next for the rest of the day. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Joao Mauro from San Francisco right now, who is the founder and CEO of CrewAI. Welcome, Joao.
Hey there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Armand. Very excited to be chatting with you all today. And I mean, I agree with everything that you said. It's definitely the year of agents. There's so much going on. We're seeing a lot of that firsthand with CrewAI, and It's a busy year, but that's good problems. So if anything, I would advise everyone to start thinking about agents, start building agents, and just see how that would play for their company.
Yes. So I really appreciate your making the time. It's kind of funny. We had a technical glitch and we're kind of repeating the first few minutes of our conversation. So what I would like to do first is to properly introduce yourself. You are very well known. I hope everyone already knows you. You are very well known in the AI community. You created this toolkit, this framework called CrewAI, kind of on your own, and that thing got so much popularity that then you decided to go scale it and getting some of the most important companies in the world embracing the framework, and then you are building enterprise capabilities all around. So I would love you to share those early days, how the framework came to life, and like kind of like that progress to create a proper startup and a company.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I gotta say, I have been working in tech for 20 years. I'm an engineer by trade, and I always was a huge fan of open source. So I spent a lot of time building some open source projects. A lot of them got very successful out there. I remember doing a bunch of conference speaking about them back in the day. And CrewAI was no different. So early days, I was building agents and I was having a lot of fun, and I was seeing these things come alive and help me fix problems that I had, and I try to look around for a more effective way to build them. So I look at the tools and I didn't find anything that I like and anything that was feeding what I was kind of like trying to do. So I decided to build my own. And that's how CrewAI came to be. And once that the open source kind of like took off, it just skyrocketed, right? I would go into meetups across like the Bay, and I would remember amazing companies. Things like Oracle would reach out to me and say, "Hey, we're using CrewAI. Can you help us?" And after a few of those companies reached out and we talked with some of them, it was very clear to me that it needed to be a company in order to provide the level of kind of like service that some of these companies needed. It needed to be a fully fledged product, and that's when we basically turned this into not only the open source project with, which we very much still maintain, but also the company itself, and it has been a lot of fun.
So I encourage everyone to go follow Joao on X and LinkedIn. You are sharing so much. You're basically, you've been building this in public. I think that also clicked with a lot of us. When we had those powerful LLMs at the days of GPT-3, those LLMs were powerful, but they were not able to fully execute and automate workflows and make them like fully personalized. So you needed a few building blocks, and then some frameworks started to pop up out there that were giving you that capability. CrewAI was one of them, but I think from my perspective, using a few of those, I think CrewAI was standing out against anything else because it was very user friendly, extremely user friendly. So can you talk a little bit about that, those first design principles that you used when you were creating it?
Yeah, I think like early days, I took inspiration from like other amazing things that I have seen out there, and the main one was Ruby on Rails, right? I was a big Ruby guy for a few years. I think I did Ruby for like 10 years or something, and Rails was always a framework that kind of like a few people loved and other people hated, just because people would think that's kind of like borderline too magical, like things just work. And I took some inspiration on that. I was like, how we can make something that just works. And then if people really want to customize it, we can give them all the APIs and access that they can go lower level and update things behind the scenes. But it's super easy to get something working. And that's kind of like how CrewAI came to be. And I think I took a lot of inspiration from seeing like these other projects optimizing for developer happiness and developer experience. And I think we were able to achieve quite a nice balance in there.
Can I ask you about some of the use cases that you see right now? I'm sure you have many. Most of the, I would say, most of the Fortune 500 companies are already experimenting with agents, and I believe most of them might be using CrewAI. So tell me a little bit about those use cases.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything. I think this is a interesting thing about agents is very much cross verticals. So you have industries from finance and healthcare that are highly regulated, all the way to industries like support companies and others. So it's cross verticals, but everyone knew that. But what we learned is there's very much cross horizontal as well. So there's no major kind of like clean winner. Usually it's kind of like sales or marketing or back office or support or coding. So it's a little bit of everything. What we're seeing though is usually companies that are most successful, they start with kind of like simpler use cases, what we call kind of like low precision use cases. There are more kind of like internal automations, and then they start to expand into external ones. But to name a few of the ones that I have seen recently, we're seeing a lot of like contract reviews, we're seeing invoices parsing and reconciliation, we're seeing pricing requests and kind of like approving price changes and monitoring competitors and querying databases. It's a little bit of everything, but it's very interesting. I think on the far side of complexity, we're seeing some people trying to fill RS forms, and there's a few financial companies kind of like looking into that, and that has been an interesting one. And people trying to edit videos live with CrewAI agents. So has been very interesting.
I think you talk about one of those video use cases on X recently. And on X, you also share some of the crazy stats on adoption that you are getting. I think you share something like uh, 30 million agent actions monthly. Is that correct? Or what is the metric that you are using right now to measure? You also track crews executed.
Yeah.
Like, tell us a little bit about that growth.
Yeah, it's I gotta say it's insane to see some of the growth. I think like it was Christmas, December 25, and we were running kind of like a million crews on that day. And I was like, what is going on? It's incredible to see adoption. I think there's a few numbers that we track. The most common one is the number of crews that are being executed. And a crew can have many agents, right? I think I have seen I have crews with like 21 agents within them. And usually right now we're running around 1.3 to 1.6 million crews every day. If every crew has like 2 or 3 agents, we're talking about almost 5 million agents a day. So it's insane like how this number is growing. Like every kind of like week, we're breaking up a new record. And more than I think what is interesting about this is not about CrewAI specifically, but it's to see the market accelerating into adopting this agent, right? And they finding that balance after doing a bunch of research and POC and experimentation, finding the balance on the use cases that these agents really excel at and really doubling down on it.
So can you break it down a little bit for the audience? What is a crew and how it relates to an agent?
Yes. So the way that we think about this is you have agents, and these agents, they impersonate certain roles. And you can bring these agents together into what we call a crew. And that crew is trying to automate a process. So a good example that we use ourselves internally is we use a crew to review code pull requests. So you have an agent that is kind of like a principal software engineer. It fully understands the code base. It can perform reg on this code base. It can research the internet and everything. We have another agent that is more a QA agent. It can load up a virtual environment using Docker. It can execute the code, make sure that everything checks out. And you have a final one that kind of like compiles everything into a proper pull request reviews. So 3 different agents together working into automating a process that in this case is pull request reviews. And if you ever go into the CrewAI open source and GitHub and you see some of the pull requests in there, you're actually going to see these reviews for every single pull request, and it's going to be a crew that did it.
That's amazing. That's such time savings and productivity. When obviously at IBM we focus on enterprise customers, and I see you are also going heavily on that direction. There is a huge opportunity there. Big questions that I get from customers on related to agents and crews and things like that is how you ensure um, quality, security of those agents, and we're all on this journey. We can all expect some imprecision there, and like with humans, by the way. But like, how are you dealing with that?
Yeah, I think you're touching on two very important things here. And one is, all right, bear with me for a second. If you think about this, you're gonna get more value given how critical the process is that you're automating, multiplied by how autonomous it is, right? So the more critical the process and the more autonomous it is, the more value you are getting. The thing is, right now, these agents, like, they can do amazing things, but they cannot do everything. There's an element of accuracy, there's an element of hallucination that you need to take into account. So what we're seeing is we added a bunch of levers to try to help you steer these agents in order for them to comply better and basically get more accuracy on the long term. So there's a lot of small things from programmatic guardrails where you can actually validate the output of these agents, and if it doesn't pass these validations, it go back to the agent, to limit the number of LLM calls or limit the time of execution, or even use before and after hooks to do certain kind of external validations if you want to. And on top of that, there's a bunch of metrics that we also use to kind of like measure how the agents are doing. So you can track their quality or their hallucination. And we are very opinionated on how you can do it, but you can also overwrite that to use whatever kind of like benchmark you want to use or eval you want to use. But the funny thing is, what you want from these agents, from them to be useful, is you want a consistent quality in one axis, but you want a very flexible agency in the other. Otherwise, you're falling back into kind of like regular RPA,
Yeah.
and then what is the point, right? So that's kind of like what we're seeing out there, finding those use cases and then working on establishing consistent quality while keeping that flexibility, and that works pretty well. So I would say that is point number one. There is a bigger point in here about how a bunch of these things around agents and memory and all these things that help those agents work better that we also offer are very quickly becoming table stakes. Like, you need memory. Everyone knows this. There are so many different ways that you can build this. I think the questions for these enterprises now is, all right, 3 years from now, we're gonna have thousands of agents working on this company. How do we manage that? And not only the agents, but all the agentic resources that come with that, their tools and everything. Like, you don't want that to be a bunch of legacy apps leaving your GitHub. You need a way to orchestrate all this. And this is what we're building at CrewAI.
Yesterday, you posted that most companies will be agentic native in the next 24 months. Could you define that?
Yes, I think this double clicks on what I was just saying. It's what we're seeing out there. The companies that are come to the conclusion, it's almost like up to this point, there has been a lot of discovery. Companies playing out, experimenting, and the discovery process was very interesting because there's a bunch of technical questions that we all are trying to answer that. But now companies are coming into a realization period where, like, this is happening, right? We also Jensen on CAS talking about how they see this being like a huge, like, multi-trillion businesses where like all these companies are going to have agents on them, and a few companies out there are very progressive, so they already understand that they're going to see probably at minimum like a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of employees and agents, if not more than that. And I think the companies that are jumping on that direction sooner, they have not only an edge, but they also are going to be what I'm calling agentic native companies.
Let's talk about developing those agents, right? We've been talking about your framework, which is basically targeting developers. I I believe you were working as well on some low code, no code capabilities, so giving more of the SMEs and business users the capability to create those agents. And I think where I was just chatting with an IBM fellow yesterday here at IBM, and we're talking about agents in the future won't be programmed. We will observe how people work, and then those agents will be created. Or I think we lost Joao.
Sorry, I'm back.
Hey,
I'm back. So
hey,
yes, you're talking with the IBM person about how they won't be coded. I
yeah,
100% agree with that.
yeah, like technologies like we see from Anthropic, computer use, and this will unlock a new way to observe how people work and develop those agents. Do you see that barrier where we actually won't need developers in the future to create those agents, but we'll have these low code, no code tools, or even AI generating agents automatically based on observation of workflows?
Yes, I agree with that. I think right now you have you're always going to have an element of coding if you want to build very complex use cases, because
Yeah,
there's a lot of homegrown applications. There's a lot of applications that have unknown APIs or no APIs at all. So there's going to be an element here of kind of like development to unlock certain use cases. But the end goal is definitely like these things need to be put together autonomously if they can, either by choosing from a pool of agents that you might have internally on your company, or by creating these agents dynamically. I think one thing that I can share without leaning too much on my if I lean too much ahead in here is one of the things that we have been working on is this idea that you can create these agents by basically chatting. So you can explain your use case and you basically get to see these agents putting
that's
together.
great.
So let me share my screen real quick so I can give you a highlight of that. There you go. So in here, what you can see is you can chat your way into an automation. So I'm going to pull up an example here where you start asking it, telling about what you want, and you chat your way up to the point that you feel ready. And you can click on generate crew plan, and you get another view now of what our agents and tasks are. And you can keep changing them if you want to. So you can change what would be the agents, what would be the tasks. And when you're ready, you click on generate crew, and then you go into kind of like a more node view where you can actually connect some of those flows, you can change some of these tasks, these agents, and you can deploy or download that right away. So if at any point you want to go back into code, you can do it. So we're definitely experimenting a lot with kind of like what it is, what the experience of creating agents for non-technical people will be in these companies in the future.
Yeah, that's gonna be very interesting. I agree with you. The very complex use cases, developers will handle them, but like maybe we'll be able to tackle like 50, 60, 70% of the market with these kinds of tools. So when we met for the first time, we both saw like an opportunity to partner between CrewAI and IBM, and we have a lot of ideas on things that we want to execute. But we actually announced a partnership. I think it was in TechXchange event in October or November at the end of last year, and we started doing some early integrations with our IBM LLMs, our granite models, and inference service, and you can see that already working in the documentation. Can you tell us more about how you see the partnership with IBM and how we are going to be tackling enterprise use cases?
Yes, for sure. I mean, let me start saying that IBM has been an amazing company to partner with. It's really incredible. I found that you folks work on a certain ways very similar to a startup. You move fast and you have very opinionated views, and I love that about IBM in certain ways. I think there's two components about the partnership that I'm very excited about. One is definitely the technical integration, right? The Granite models alone, like, are super interesting, and there's a lot of companies that are already leveraging that. So the ability for them to now use those models to power agents is something that is very interesting for these companies. And it's not only those models, right? On your inference services, you have so many other different models. So like Llama models will be there, and people are going to be able to use all that, and that has been pretty good. But there's also the commercial aspect on how we have been partnering together. I think, as you said, you have been supporting all these enterprise companies like through so many years, and IBM has like a crack kind of like the code on how to navigate a lot of like federal deals and organization deals, and that has been extremely helpful on kind of like partnering a company like us and helping us navigate the way on some of that. So if anything, I think we're going to do even better things on 2025, and I'm very excited about it.
We got a wave of customers coming to us after our announcement, so that definitely we have a lot of ideas of things we want to do together. Our customers, they see the disruption coming and the need to embrace agentic and start tackling use cases quickly. I like how you put it: start small with simple use cases, initially internal ones, get confidence, and then over time you might get into more external use cases. And then I think what is really compelling here is to provide the best tool set to not only create but also deploy and manage, like you mentioned, one-to-one ratio, right? So we're talking like a company like IBM, 300,000 plus employees. You will have like 300,000 AI agents executing things autonomously. So yeah, from my end, Joao from IBM, representing IBM, I'm super excited about the partnership. We want to keep embedding the capabilities and make them even more available, and our customers are really willing to do so. I I hope we can just go for a hike. You said you have two dogs. I also have a dog, and then we can discuss the next wave of future crazy ideas. But I really appreciate you made the time to join us today, and Joao, and just keep rocking. We're all watching you, and you're innovating at a very fast pace, and it's been a delight to see like the growth and the adoption and how you're tackling the market.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. If anything, we're super excited that we're doing business together and we want to help out the companies out there. I think like the way that you describe it, you're absolutely right. Like this like the CrewAI framework is something that we're very proud of. And frameworks make everyone's life so much easier. But there's so much more that goes beyond that, right? When you get to that future in a few years from now, like as you said, like it's not only the agents, it's the tools and everything along the way and how you manage out that. I think it's going to be a very interesting challenges, and I think if anything, it's going to be a lot of fun engineering work. So thank you so much for having me, and let's do that hike for sure.
Awesome. See you, Joao.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. So I want to share a few more things that after this fun talk with Joao. Let me share my screen. First, first thing I want to share is if you want to get started today using our GenAI platform Watson X with CrewAI, we have here this tutorial. You can just Google leverage CrewAI and Watson X, or here's the link, developer.ibm.com, and so on and so forth. So this is a great tutorial, step by step, with all the code snippets, notebooks. It's in Python, and will guide you on how to actually get started with the sample. We've been talking a little bit about use cases. There are so many use cases out there that we're seeing in the market, from customer services getting agents way more efficient, everything related to customer and citizen service, hours saved of work. It's been incredible as well. Digital labor in human resources from applications, reduce time from resume to submission to offer by 75%, and automating a lot of the steps throughout that process, or things like procurement. We have a lot of different use cases. I'm not going to walk you through some of those, but at the end, you see as well IBM saving 3 billion on Gen AI use cases in areas like marketing, supply chain, and IT operations. So the building blocks to build all these agentic solutions, they all start with the use case in mind, right? And for that, then you need assistants, agents, models, a lot of data. That's your secret sauce, especially in enterprise use cases. And then in order to run this securely, you need the right governance tools. Many people ask me, what is the difference between an agent and an assistant, and how it's been that path towards this future we are headed. So we've been interacting with traditional assistants for the last 5-8 years. And those are, they've been good for some use cases. They've also been extremely annoying for consumers to use because they are not really smart. They are they are rule-based. If X, do Y, and you have always developers predefining all those rules manually. And they're quite limited, right? They don't feel personalized. And as I said, they don't feel intelligent at all. So we've been moving into single agents, right? Single agents that you can give them an input, and then they can break down the request and break it down into smaller steps that they can plan, they can action, they can reflect, and come back into planning if things need to be tweaked. So those single assistants, they will play a specific role, like Joao was saying, like a research assistant, a sales assistant. In this case, we have here a flight booker, and they're constrained to the scope of their role. But where we're actually going is to these multi-agent assistants, where you will have this master agent that will route and coordinate and orchestrate all these different agents that are specific for different domains, and they are specialized. And that's going to be really incredible to see working, because this master agent will be able to make requests to specific agents depending on their skills and their domain. And that's where we will see an explosion of different use cases that are going to be tackled, and a lot of efficiencies, right? You won't need like super large models. All these small agents will be run by smaller models with very cheap compute required in order to run inference. So I'm going to show you here a very quick demo. This is a long demo. I'm going to go through it quickly, but it's going to give you an idea of how we can tackle a use case. In this image, what we see here is on the left a bunch of different assistants and agents. You have a digital sales agent, a research agent, health insurance agent, employee service agent, and we're going to start interacting with the system. For example, we're going to ask, what are our current sales plays for AI assistants? This is kind of like an internal use case, right? And the system is automatically detecting that this is a question that should go to the sales assistant, and it's going to go and do rack and get that information, and even give us a link directly to the data source. In this case, we have it on Seismic. And then how does digital labor relate to energy industry? So here, the system is going to automatically detect, okay, maybe this is not a question for this agent, maybe it's more for a research agent, and then automatically route the query to the right agent and bring it all together. And with this kind of system, you can see you can start tackling different workflows. Those agents, they have access to different tools as required. They can pull data, they can get data out. They're extremely powerful. Let me switch here to the next slide. So I think one of the big topics that Joao was talking about is this concept not only of agents, individual agents, but like multi-agents. He calls that crews, right? And for that, you need multi-agent orchestration, how you manage all those agents in one place securely. And that's an area where we are investing a lot for our enterprise customers. Obviously, there is this this process of building agents, and there are many different ways, right? We want to provide you with the blueprints and the best set of pre-built agents that will allow you to accelerate AI agent deployment, but then also give you full customization, as we discussed with Joao. For some very specific use cases, you need a lot of advanced tooling and be able to tweak the agent code and access certain APIs and give access to certain tools and manage permissions. So we want to give you like full flexibility to build custom agentic solutions. Models are actually the brain of everything that is happening with an agent. And models are expensive, right? We're no longer in this world where we're just trying to get this super large model, because that's not sustainable for enterprise use cases. It's too expensive and kills completely the ROI. And the secret sauce here is that you mix your data, your unique enterprise data, with the right base model, and then you target the specific use case, and you get a customized solution. We are seeing crazy cascade on inference, which is massive. In some cases, we see like 42x, even more in some cases. So starting with a very small model and tweaking it for and adapting it for a specific use case is extremely valuable. What we see, this is a stat that we shared last year, is that most of the models out there are trained with public data. The big opportunity for all of you is to adapt some of these well-known base models, like for example, our Granite models, and do that with your own enterprise data. Less than 1% of enterprise data is actually leveraged today in Gen AI. So there is a huge opportunity to tap into that data and provide customized AI solutions. There is a lot of complexity in order to do that. There is a reason why we're not doing it at scale, and we want to help you with that. So one is data access, data quality, and data security, privacy, rules, compliance, things like that. And then there is a growing data complexity. Most of the data that is that is created out there is unstructured, and this keeps growing, right? There's more and more text, more and more video, more and more image, and we need smarter multimodal models that can understand all that. And finally, let me tackle governance. When we're talking about AI in enterprises, we have a lot of pain points for scaling AI, changing regulations, many different stakeholders. You need to measure risk and assess risk. Sometimes inaccurate documentation, different tools, vulnerable data. There are a lot of different points that makes some enterprises in certain industries, in certain geographies, and for certain use cases, kind of scared to implement AI. You can manage all that complexity with AI governance and security solutions. This is one of the areas I'm actually focused on in my daily job, with single dashboard, ways to monitor all that risk, bring all the stakeholders together, manage end-to-end life cycle of use cases, manage regulations and compliance, and track accuracy and different metrics to assess quality in production at runtime level. So there is a lot of innovation happening there to, in one end is build solutions that are secure, but then helping you manage all this like 1-to-1 ratio that Joao was talking about of agents in production. I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm running out of voice and I'm a little bit sick, but we have a very exciting day ahead today. We have, as I said at the beginning, we have more than 30 speakers. We have 3 different tracks, one called AI Agents and Assistants. So here you will learn how to build your own custom agent, how to troubleshoot performance, how to expose your agent via an API to invoke that agent. We're going to be talking about different models and developer tools. This is still very important. As I mentioned, models are the brain of agents. So we're going to walk you through what you can do with models like Granite, areas of customization. And then finally, we have the third track, which is all about trusted AI applications. So this area that I was mentioning now at the end, how you build AI governance and AI ethics policies and manage lifecycle. So 3 tracks, more than 30 speakers, a lot of different partners joining us today. So I hope you truly enjoy the rest of the technical sessions. It's my pleasure to kick off the day today here with all of you, and we'll stay in touch. Follow me on LinkedIn if you have questions. Keep asking questions as well with Joao. We're very actively on social media.